Hey everyone, welcome back to the Big Gold Belt channel. My name is Zero Gravity, and today I'm on some energy today, okay? I jumped out the bed. I'm ready to talk to everyone about the American Society of Magical Negroes, which drops in theaters March 15th. And today I'm here with the Nicole Byer. Thank you so much for having the time to chat with me today. How we doing on this fine Friday?
I feel good.
Excellent. That's all we could ask for. Awesome, awesome. So I'm just going to jump into my questions if that's okay with you.
Yes.
So I'm going to start with just the term. Okay. So the term magical Negro will make most nerds of color, suck their teeth in unison, or maybe might invoke a little bit of an eye roll when we think about the trope too hard. And I'm sure you've thought about this too. So can you please describe your reaction or your thought process when you got that call to action to be part of this satire?
I was excited. I initially just like read the name of the script and I was like, okay, so this is going to be some sort of take on, the trope of a magical Negro, the lead character who's white, whose best friend is black and has wisdom and whatever. And then I read the script and I was like, oh, this is such a fun world to play in. And the movie has such a fun duality where you're like, what else is going on in this secret society? What else is going on in the real world? So, like, it was just really fun. And I think Kobe did an excellent job balancing the two and making it really fun, but also just like a really lovely rom com at heart.
Yeah. I really enjoyed my time watching the movie. I don't think I was expecting a rom-com. But the way that it played out had me leaving the theater with a little bit more heart than I thought I would, which was definitely a pleasant surprise, if I'm being completely honest. But your character is called Dee Dee, and she's essentially the voice and the control of the American Society of Magical Negroes. And she's just hilarious, but also kind of real. So were you by any chance influenced by any other character or figure to help you create the character of Dee Dee?
I don't think I really looked for influences. I kind of just thought about it and I was like, well, what do I want her voice to sound like? Her voice is a little deeper than mine. And I thought about her mannerisms and I wanted her to use her hands in a way to make points. And then also, I don't know if it's a spoiler, I fly in it. So there is also the physicality of flying and then adding all of this stuff that I thought of for her. So it was really fun to just like create it from the ground up because she is different than me. I'm more of a bubbly, fun person, and she is very much like to the point, and here's information, and that's it.
I love it. I think Dee Dee kind of reminded me a lot of like personally my high school guidance counselor who wants to like sway me in the right direction
Uh-huh.
is especially in such a formative and like important time in my life. So like on the right side of the good fight, but is willing to, be stern enough to whip me into shape in order to get
Mhm.
me there, which I can only imagine when we're talking about an entire gathering of magical Negroes can be kind of similar, especially with when powers and magic and all that other stuff come into play. So you're a comedy queen. Everybody who knows you knows that. Were you able to get any improv licks in there, or does this film's writing team just know you like that?
I mean, I think Kobe just wrote a really solid, fun script. He did let me do some improvised takes. There was one take where he was like, "Hey, don't do that again," and I was like, "Okay." Sometimes you're like, "This is funny to me and nobody else." There was like a couple pieces of improv that made it into the final cut. I don't know if it was dialogue. I think it was just me doing some physicality. But yeah, I think the script was just so solid that it didn't need, any real riffing.
hmm It didn't need the zhuzhing when the writer's room really got you,
Uh-huh.
right? So let's go back for a second to the flying part because I knew that we were in a world where, we can just like snap our fingers and then shit just happens. And I was really surprised to see you start levitating, which was actually very awesome. Can you talk about how that was on set? I don't know
Mhm.
if you were expecting to be levitated in the air and have the real physical appearance of a magical Negro, but can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Kobe told me I was going to be flying, and in the script it said I flew. Also in the script, we ended up cutting it. I was supposed to be held up by men, and they were supposed to like walk me in, but then we switched that out for this like ladder thing. But the physical, so you're in a harness, and I've been in a harness before. And at one point, I was like, this is so uncomfortable. And one of the stunt people was like, well, if you're uncomfortable, that means it's correct and you're safe. And I was like, well, the last time I was in a harness, I was so comfy cozy. And I was like, was I not safe? But then I like that Kobe, we also worked with the physicality of me in the air. And it was like, do I point my feet down? What do I do with my feet? But like they naturally just kind of went out because of the harness. And I think that's just funny. And we left it like that. And I think it's funny that she's not exactly like dainty in the air. She kind of holds her gravitas and takes up space. It was really fun. I had a blast.
Awesome. I love to hear that. And I think I do agree. It's funny, but it also works because, this whole world is satirical and, we're supposed to kind of poke fun on it. And it definitely does hold weight with your character being, the voice,
Mm-hmm.
but also reminds us that, this is all make believe and really this is the part of like the things that go bump in the night as people who live in kind of fantasy worlds. So I would just a personal question, because I know that you navigate around the pop culture media space very heavily. Do you have any instances of a magical Negro that kind of gets under your skin as a fan, as somebody who consumes media?
That gets under my skin. I mean, I think a lot of us get sick of like, actually, yeah. So I have a couple of like um, Caucasian persuasion friends who are character actors, and they'll go out for an audition and then see who gets cast and be like, oh, well, they went black. And I had to, it got to the point where I had to be like, they didn't go black. The leads are just white. And they said, how can we fit in diversity? And it trickled down to the
Hmm.
character actors. So like inclusion kind of benefits you, because if the leads were something other than white, you then could be a more successful character actor. So like diversity and inclusion affects all of us. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, that's like something that used to really get under my skin. But I've taught my whites well. I don't know if I can say my whites, but I said it.
I think that's fair. I mean, it's an honest conversation that we really need to have. And I love that this movie, no matter what people think about it, definitely invokes the conversation that needs to be had. Because at this point in media, we should be past that, right? But for some reason, it still keeps happening. It just keeps getting a little bit of a layer over it that like might be better. But just as you said, it's all in the realm of how can we make our film more diverse, but really doesn't it doesn't it's not ingested that way as a person of color when you're watching it, or even for you like on the inside. Like I'm sure that's really freaking annoying, and I can't even lie. It's annoying for me sitting on the couch consuming the media that I want to see with black people in it. Thank you for that. So back to the American Society of Magical Negroes. Do you have any particular day on set that was most fun to film for you, or do you have any sort of BTS information that you can give me that would be fun to tell from
Sure.
behind the scenes?
My scenes were, it was a little nerve-wracking because anytime you're one person and then your scene partner is a crowd of people, it like the first take you do is always like, oh my God, everyone is staring at me. Because usually it's like you and one person and then like the camera crew. But it's like there's 100 extras and the camera crew, and I'm levitating. So it was a little unhinged. And at one point, I like was doing a take, and I just like happened to lock eyes with Justice, and he was like smiling and kind of giggling, and I was like, "I'm stop it," and he was like, "But you're funny," and I was like, "I know, okay, but you can't just laugh at me as I'm yelling at you." and that was fun. And then David also was like smiling at one point, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm making David Allen Greer smile." It was truly just like a set full of love, and our downtime was even nice when we were just like sitting in our chairs talking. And then my co-star from Grand Crew, Aren Jennings, was also in the movie, so like that was fun to be like, "Look at us, we had a day off from Grand Crew and we're here working together still. You can't get rid of me." Yeah, I got it. It was just fun, which
And it
is,
shows.
yeah.
It looks like that you guys were having a buttload of fun on set, and it translates from the audience because watching this film with the banter and the relationships between everyone and just the different character archetypes, you kind of, even if you're not outwardly laughing, we're all sitting in the theater with a stupid smile on our face, which I think is the goal at the end of the day, is to make people smile, especially on a topic that again, it gets under our skin as people who live in the fantasy. So I love to hear that. So is there something that you think that audiences should take away after they see this film, something they should carry with them?
Um, I think a thing you can carry with you after seeing the film is like, you never really know what someone is going through, and words do matter. And if someone says something to you, it's not like an indictment on your full character, but it might be something that you can grow from or learn
Mhm.
from. And that's okay. We're all here to grow and learn. No one's finished, you know? The world is just an oven and we're all just cooking. That's a wild thing, but I said it.
I
So
love
maybe
it.
stove is better. Oh God. Whatever. We're a stew, and you got to simmer for a while.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. And for all of the magical Negroes that are out there right now who are incognito mode, who might be watching this film, can you give them any advice as the leader of the American Society of Magical Negroes on how to maybe keep their job or maybe how to get out?
I mean, to get out, you don't have to do something as spectacular as Justice's character, Aren, but and if you want to stay in it, you just have a nice time. Listen, I answered that badly, but that's the answer.
I don't think there's any good answer. I really don't think there is one. Um, but excellent. That's all the questions that I have for you today. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. Y'all, please pull up to the theater, open your wallets, make sure that this film does well. You can see Nicole Byer in the American Society of Magical Negroes dropping into theaters on Friday, March 15th. And again, I've been Zero Gravity. Thank you so much for watching.